All right, we mentioned this a little bit in the last segment, but let's talk a little bit about some shots going back and forth. Bret Bielema starting us out, and then we'll talk about Diego here in just a minute, a different kind of shot fired. But we got some shots fired, which is always fun in June when there's not a ton of news, although there's plenty of news that we're talking about this week. Bret talking about the 9-game SEC schedule. All right, so I love people that fire shots at the SEC. I'm all about it. Like Danny Cannell I'm going to put a statue of him up there if I can ever find one, just because I'm a big fan of firing the shots. I am not obsessed by any means with the SEC going to a 9th game. And I don't really understand why. The one part of it that I guess I do understand is that the SEC has the ability to schedule if they want, right? And every scheduling department is going to be a little bit different, and every program is going to think about this a little bit differently. The SEC does have the ability to schedule more cupcake games than the Big Ten does out of conference, right? And so, like, if that's what some of these Big Ten folks are hung up on, is the SEC getting one more kind of bye game, right, where they can play a weaker opponent than the Big Ten can, I guess I'm fine with that. However, I don't think SEC powers use that to their advantage as much. Like Florida always plays Florida State, Georgia always plays Georgia Tech, South Carolina always plays Clemson, and then out of conference they schedule pretty well too. We understand that Alabama's going to Tallahassee this year. Next year, or in 2 years, Georgia's coming to Tallahassee. LSU is playing at Clemson. They played at Florida State. Oklahoma and Michigan are playing. Like
Texas, really Ohio State. We can throw that one in. California's going there.
I don't think that. So if that's kind of the concern, I guess I understand that would be a gripe, but I don't think do lower level SEC schools maybe not have as strong of an out of conference? I mean, I guess, but I mean, Arkansas is not making a case for the college football playoff anyway, right? And so I don't know. This isn't as big of a deal to me, but Bret Bielema not very happy that the SEC is still at 8 conference games, and as an SEC hater, this does not rub me that wrong. I've never really cared that the SEC didn't play 9 conference games like the Big 12 and the Big 10 do. The ACC also doesn't play 9 conference games. But again, the ACC consistently playing out-of-conference games with large SEC programs obviously has Notre Dame on the schedule. You play Notre Dame once every 3 years if you're in the ACC, more if you're Clemson, Florida State, and others. So I don't know. I've just never... I like Bret Bielema going at SEC coaches. I liked it when he did it against Shane Beamer in the bowl. I like that, but this doesn't really matter to me. Like some people are so hung up on this 9th game for the SEC.
I think it is kind of what I was saying before. I read it more so as trying to have the same uniform conference schedule evaluation process for both the Big Ten and the SEC. The Big Ten playing 9 conference games. Okay, the SEC should play 9 conference games, thus 4 automatic qualifiers for each. So you can just, everything is the same and you match it together. And that's why the SEC gets so bent out of shape, is because they don't believe they're the same as anybody else. They believe they're bigger and better and have a tougher strength of schedule than everybody else. So why should it matter how many games they play? I do understand the point you're saying about non-cons, but I took it mostly as Bielema saying, if we're saying, okay, 4 automatic qualifiers, great, play the same amount of conference games, so that way we can go boom, 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 right down the list. Here are the teams that make it. Here are the teams that don't.
29-34. Let's just start off there. That was your record at Arkansas. So let's talk about when you win in the SEC before you start coming at the SEC. I'll go at that point. I'm going to say the quiet part out loud because I feel like that everybody, including the haters of the SEC, need to hear this. So come close, really close. You hear here? Good. Call ESPN. They're the ones in charge of the scheduling. They're paying for 8 conference games. Why are you going to openly play an extra game that is only going to hurt your resume, hurt your schedule, hurt your odds of going to the college football playoff for the quote-unquote love of the sport? Nobody does anything for love anymore. Nobody goes anywhere for love anymore. Nobody does anything for appreciation anymore. You're not going and staying an extra 20 hours at work because of you love your job. You're doing it because of you're getting a bonus. You're doing it because of you're getting extra pay. The reason why people say, hey, you have to work overtime and you get paid 2.5 is because of it's extra work that was added on in. You can come at the SEC all you want, and I completely understand it. And I will continue to push for 9 games. I am an SEC fan that wants 9 games. I want that November cupcake schedule matchup out of the way. I'm tired of seeing an FCS Chattanooga or an Austin P on the schedule. I say this as an SEC fan, but you're coming at the wrong people. You're coming at the wrong coaches. You're coming at the wrong athletic directors. You got to go at 2 people. Those who are making this schedule with ESPN and are funneling in the money for 8 conference games, and the school presidents that want more money and more repercussions to schedule that 9th conference game. So please, I'm begging you, do just a little bit of research. It takes 5 seconds to go on to Google and type in, why does the SEC play 8 conference games? Because that's what ESPN is paying for. They're not paying for a 9th, and until they do, this is a moot point. It is a dumb argument. I'm sorry. It is. You're barking up the wrong tree. It has nothing to do with anything other than a paycheck that should be added on at the end of the year when ESPN writes these to the schools in the conference.
Something I would really like to see is I would like to see the SEC and the ACC go to a 9th conference game for the sole reason of I would like that game to be a wild card game set by the schedule. Like, your schedules are set out so far in advance, right? You kind of know what they're going to be, and we'll see what the SEC does, because this year's schedule is just an inverse of last year's. So we'll see kind of how it's shaken up next year. But I would like for that 9th game to be a complete wild card. Like, if I'm a Florida State fan, right, which I am, we've got our 8 games that were already set, right? You've already kind of got most of your plans. We're going to make your 9th game completely based on storylines from last year. Right. And so I don't know who that opponent would be. Just off the top of my head, maybe you make SMU make the return trip back to Tallahassee because Florida State went out there last year. Right? There are no good storylines after 2-10, so maybe Florida State's a bad example to use with this. But if you're Alabama, right, and you didn't play somebody last year that would be kind of a fun storyline this year, maybe it's Oklahoma, maybe, I don't know, right? But I'd like to see that game become a wild card game that you just kind of make up each year. You kind of have your set schedule, but you get something based on last year's game. Kind of like the NBA, how the NBA will schedule like a Christmas Day game to be a finals rematch, or if nothing else crazy is going on, they'll make it Lakers Celtics because that's just a great rivalry. It wouldn't be a rivalry game in your 9th one because those are already kind of set, but that would be kind of a fun aspect, right? This year, Clemson SMU, I don't think play, so that would be the fun one, right? You'd give us, actually no, I think they do, but if they didn't, you'd make that a rematch of last year's SEC champion or ACC championship game. Maybe you do something similar with the SEC too. But yeah, I'm in full agreement with there, and I don't really think the 9th game matters that much. We talked about this off air, but not only will the SEC pick up 16 more losses by going to a 9th game, 8 more losses. They'll pick up 8 more wins as well. Right?
And just humor me out of curiosity, TJ. What if one of those wins against the number 2 team in the country? Oh, wow. So you strengthen the resume at that point, which means that there really is no argument when a Penn State team is playing down to the wire with, say, a Minnesota team that goes 7-5.
So speaking on the Big Ten, Diego Pavia, I feel like when you beat Alabama, you literally can just say whatever you want for the rest of your life. Yeah, like there's just no, like if Thomas Castellano somehow upsets Alabama in game 1, obviously he'll never buy another drink in Tallahassee. It really doesn't even matter what the rest of the season does. Now, does he meet the high requirement to grab a drink in Tallahassee? That might be a different question. But Diego Pavia is certainly not afraid to take some shots at the Big Ten. Tom, I want to get your thoughts on this first, just because it was a shot at the Big Ten and you are our resident Big Ten defender here, or at least, play one for this hour. What thoughts on Pavia going after the Big Ten QBs after his magical 7-6 season last year at Vandy?
Listen, I can be very unbiased. The quote from Diego Pavia, according to a post by On3, is, quote, "You want to play with the best. You don't want to play with the Big Ten. You ignore those calls." He went on to say the SEC, it's like week after week, you're going to get beat on. The Big Ten, you're not going to get beat on with the Purdue, Nebraskas. Okay, part of me is hearing his argument as a Penn Stater. I'm the first person to say it's a 2-game season this upcoming year. Hosting Oregon, at Ohio State, every other game on the schedule. No disrespect to Indiana. Some of the other teams that Penn State's got to play. They should go 10-2 at absolutely worst, and they should be able to win the rest of those games. They will have some competition, but still, I look at it that way. One, Diego Pavia, you are 2025's Matt Grothy, okay? You are not Johnny Manziel. You are not Baker Mayfield.
Tampa
Now,
legend Matt Grothy, by the way.
realistic thought process that I think everybody should go through. And Cole, I texted you about this and you vehemently disagree. How many teams could Diego Pavia actually start for in the Big Ten this upcoming year? It's maybe half. Every other team, I'll go through them right now.
I want to go through and I'll see if I agree with you or not. Because I actually have
start over Dante Moore at Oregon.
No.
You start over Fernando Mendoza at Indiana.
I'd push no, but I could at least see a conversation. But I'll push no. I'll give you
Drew
that.
Aller at Penn State.
No.
Julian Sand at Ohio State.
Because of the upside, no.
Luke Altmaier at Illinois.
That's one that I would go lean that line because I have them both ranked next to
Go
each other.
Altmaier.
They're in my rankings, but I'll go Altmaier. I will go
Jaden
Altmaier.
Mayafa or the promise of Hassan Longstreet at USC.
I would not take Jaden Mayafa. It's me. I don't like Jaden Mayafa. So I'm
Damon Williams at Washington.
Don't do this to me. Yeah, it's Damon Williams.
Dylan Raiola at Nebraska, the aforementioned Nebraska.
Hey, you know what? Maybe if you go back to the wishbone offense, things start turning your way. You don't know.
I'm not the biggest fan, but Nico Iamaleava, in terms of physical gifts and skill set, has a much higher ceiling at UCLA than Diego Pavia could. So listen, I understand that he's standing up for it and he's feeling big, even though he is not. But seriously, you beat Alabama in a down year. Congratulations. Great season. The point that Danny Cannell brought up, everybody's been pointing at like his absolute worst. And somebody pointed to a loss that he had, I think in 2022 when he was playing for New Mexico State, and he just had an awful QBR. So it's like, all right, let's not get into the weeds with these little things. It's just a matter of if you put Vanderbilt in the Big Ten today, where would they be? Middle of the pack, maybe top half by a smidge. So don't all of a sudden think that you're some mega power player because you played for a good Vanderbilt team last year, which, by the way, good at Vanderbilt is something James Franklin has done before. So congratulations on that accomplishment. Listen, I understand that the SEC, they think they're king. You are a world-class idiot if you turn down a recruiting phone call from a Big Ten team because of the money you can make and the opportunity afforded to you. That is a stupid take by Diego Pavia.
You said that Vanderbilt would be smidge, middle, maybe slight top half of the Big Ten, right? Yeah, usually they're the bottom dweller. They're the Purdue or the Northwestern of the SEC. So, where do you put the SEC? Where do you put Purdue and Northwestern in the SEC with that ranking?
The way the Big Ten's shaken out this year, I'm not going to discredit what Vanderbilt's able to do this upcoming season, what they did last year. Sure, yeah, you're going to be there. But for him to say it's like, nah, we're better than the Big Ten. I'm better than the Big Ten. Like, what if Vanderbilt had never called him? What if Northwestern had called Diego Pavia and he was like, well, I'm at New State? He would have taken any lifeline.
So, but again, think about it this way, Tom, just to play devil's advocate here. If the Big Ten called him and it was a school, let's say Wisconsin for that matter, Wisconsin that has been known for its physical approach and its downhill running style, something that Diego Pavia is great at. What if they called him and he ended up helping Luke Fickell get to 8 wins last year? Well, you know what? He's probably telling that the SEC can shove it because those schools didn't want him when he was coming out of New Mexico State. But you know who did want him? Vanderbilt. So now he is standing up for the conference. With that being said, Pavia, you can say whatever you want in the offseason, but you better back it up in the regular season. Alabama has you circled in big black permanent ink. It's tattooed on their arms, your face. Hugh Freeze can't afford 4 consecutive losses to you when you were at New Mexico State and he was at Liberty, and 3 straight years at Auburn. He can't get away from you. He has to at least win one of those games. You have to back it up. So I stand on that. The other thing that I will say is that people, and this is not against Tom, this is not against anybody, but can you go back and watch the clip? Like, it's on 3, and it's a website taking one instance of a clip, 30 seconds, and creating a narrative around it. Who are the 2 hosts of Bussin' with the Boys? It's Taylor Lewan and it's Will Compton. Where did they play? They played in the Big Ten. Of course he's going to take some shots at Big Ten competition when both of those teams were underwhelming when they were there. Like, that's kind of just the point of it. It's a banter. They were laughing afterwards. It was not like this sensual tension that comes on in. More people need to go outside and touch grass if you're going to get affected by how Diego Pavia ruins your day by calling out the Big Ten. A conference which, again, if we're going to be completely fair, Big Ten, the SEC rallies together and rides on the coattails of 4 teams. It's the same 4 teams every year at every conference. It is. It's Penn State. It's now Oregon. It's Ohio State. 90% of the time, it's Michigan. But if it's not Michigan or Penn State, you throw in that random team, and now they're the representative for you. Just like in the SEC, it's Alabama, it's now Texas, it's Georgia, and 95% of the time, it's LSU. But you can maybe throw in every once in a blue moon an Ole Miss or maybe a Missouri one year. That's just it. They all have 4 teams that stick above everybody else. But because Vandy said it, a guy that actually was able to beat up on a team that beat Georgia 2 weeks prior, now we're all butthurt about it. I think it's dumb. I think it's stupid. I have no problem with what he said. I'm all for it as long as you can back it up on the field. When you go into Tuscaloosa, you better be playing like you are a Heisman Trophy winner. When you go play against Auburn, you better be playing like you're a Heisman Trophy. Better yet, when you go to Lane Stadium come week 2 and you have to play against Enter Sandman at Blacksburg, Virginia, you better beat the crap out of Virginia Tech a second time, because if you did it once in your backyard in a stadium that was still under construction. So, like, I'm willing to go ahead and say, talk your mad smack. Just don't be the guy who's in the meme pouring champagne on himself but sitting in the 7th place spot. Just don't be that guy.
You mentioned Alabama having Vandy circled. Does Vandy have Georgia State circled this year? Is that a black circle game for them?
Yeah.
All right, another super chat from Ryan real quick, and then we'll go to college football schedule. I don't know exactly what this is referencing, but it might be that he's saying the Big Ten will three-peat this year. SEC is weaker than the Big Ten. The Big Ten will three-peat this year, which will make Sankey's head explode. Listen, I'm not trying to give Tom a hard time here, but is Ohio State their best chance to three-peat?
No.
Is it Penn State?
It might be Penn State.
It could be Penn State.
Or Oregon. I think the jury is still out. You have to see what Oregon develops into. It's really those 3.
Yeah, it does feel pretty wide open this year. I mean, with 5 or 6 teams that could do it. But
let's just bring it up this way. From the SEC's perspective, how many teams do you actually think can win a national title?
Georgia, Texas, I guess LSU, but until I see it, I need to believe it.
Yeah. Bama, the jury's still out. So maybe
I would say 4 right now.
I'd say 3.5. Yeah.
I would say 3.5 to 4. I think that there are 2 in the Big Ten. I don't think that Oregon this year can do it. I think it's Penn State and it's Ohio State.
The thing that would really annoy everybody is if freaking Notre Dame won the national.
I was going to say, get ready for my boy Klubnik to come in and do it. So
listen, I'm not going to agree. Again, I'm tired of everyone being like, "Oh, he's such an AC, like he hates, like he only loves the SEC." Guys, Clemson's my number 3 team in the country. I have Penn State at number 1. Like, the SEC homer has a Big Ten team at number 1 and an ACC team top 3. Neither one of them is going to shock me if they run the table and punch their ticket to Miami.